I'm Maria Fontanazza, the Director of Content with MedAd News, and I'd like to welcome Matt McNally, Global CEO of Publicis Health, and Allison Ceraso. You are the Chief Creative Officer at Digitas Health. So you have almost a year under your belt, and you are nearly there. So I'll start with you, Matt. Tell me, what drew you back into Publicis Health?
I think there's a few things. I think number one, obviously the people, right? I'd spent 14 years at Publicis Health, and then I took what I call an 8-year kind of tour of duty elsewhere. And I think I always reminisced and was excited about the culture that has always been at Publicis Health, really focused on an entrepreneurial spirit. Then when you look at all the transformation that's happening in the marketplace, kind of all things technology, all things data, all things in AI, Publicis Group and Publicis Health have been a forerunner and a leader of that for the past 24 to 36 months. So it was like the perfect time, right? The people, the culture, everything from an automation and tech perspective really is what drew me back to Publicis Health.
And Allison, you mentioned you called the team the dream team. So tell me, you've been here now a year, and tell me what your experience has been working with this team.
Oh, it's been wonderful. Upon arrival, I was welcomed with open arms. Like you said, the culture is unmatched. And I think to embrace this time of change so openly and entrepreneurially and creatively has been just a gift. I think I'd like to call DH undergoing a creative renaissance, if you will. And I think that's been encouraged, supported, and it's really been the ambition since I got here, and I've loved every second.
Matt, the healthcare industry itself is going through a lot of changes. We're seeing changes in all industries across the board. Specifically within healthcare, where do you see those biggest opportunities to drive growth but still create those efficiencies for clients and for patients?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it spot on, right? A lot of our clients are under enormous amounts of pressure to deliver kind of revenue and impact to the street and all of their stakeholders. And I think for us, fortunately, now when you look at the infusion of data and technology, you look at the suite of AI products that we've built across Publicis Health and Publicis Group, it enables our teams to work faster, right? We're able to get speed to peak sales faster. We're able to get to launch brands faster. Tactically, we're concepting, quicker than ever from a creative perspective. And all of that is save time and money on behalf of our clients. What that automation and AI has enabled our teams to do is solve the bigger business problems and talk to our clients about things that are keeping them up at night, right? If you think about the United States, what's going to happen with DTC advertising? What does that look like? As the pipeline has evolved to super high science, gene therapies, oncology products with small niche audiences, how do we go after that and kind of engage with our clients in different ways? And even the balance of the role of HCP promotions versus DTC promotions and what that looks like. So for us at Publicis Health, automation is in our game. It's in our DNA. We're able to deliver all of those things really effectively, and like I said, really focus on those big business challenges to help our clients be successful in what they want to do day to day.
Let's talk about modern marketing and artificial intelligence. Matt, how do you see AI and real-world data reshaping how we connect with capabilities, people, and ideas across the entire healthcare ecosystem?
I love this question because I think so many people are out there concerned about what AI is going to do, and I think for us at Publicis Health, we see it as the rocket fuel to do all of those things, right? Connect our people better, connect our capabilities better, and actually deliver a better end result for patients and providers. Everything from audience building at the front, who are the right audiences that are going to actually move the needle for our clients? What are the actual audiences that have the insurance coverage that are needed? And who are the docs that are actually going to write that script? All the way through to briefing for our creative and strategy teams, to key message development. What does that look like? Key concept development, right? Giving our creative teams a little bit of fodder. They're still doing the work. They're coming up with the ideas. They have all the great brain power, but it's helping us do it more efficiently. And then from a closed loop perspective, it helps us measure performance on an ongoing basis. So for us, we see AI as co-pilots to all of our teams, regardless of the discipline, and as that accelerator to make us smarter, better, faster, and more impactful for our clients and the patients and HCPs that we serve every day.
And Allison, you've expressed a lot of excitement surrounding AI. So tell me, from your perspective, with all this focus on AI and using data, how are you ensuring that creativity is not overshadowed and it's rather amplified with this technology?
At Publicis Health, AI has been so seamlessly integrated into the creative workflow and process that it has so profoundly changed the way we work and the way we think and the way we ideate. I mean, like you said, just starting with idea generation and LLMs and where it can help scale the thinking faster, to image generation and how what was once an effort in Photoshop and labored over for hours is done instantaneously, to production and how it's changed the way of working for scale and sizing and mass production, and then finally just craft and execution. I think the biggest thing I'm seeing right now is AI is becoming more and more human in the best way. I think it's always going to be inspired by human insight, empathy, and heart. But now we're at a point where it's becoming so flawlessly executed that we're able to achieve such great visuals and such great expressions that I think we're on the verge of being able to scale so much faster. And I would never look at AI as a replacement. I would never look at it only for efficiencies. I think what we see every single day is more begets more. We're getting more ideas, we're getting more engagements, we're getting more fuel and more creativity as a result. And I just, what's under the hood here, both in the production mindset as well as in the creative power, and what we're doing every day is just mind-blowing, and it's only taking us further, faster.
And how is it changing when you're using AI? How is it changing your approach in working with the creative team and coming together, formulating these different ideas?
So first and foremost, it helps us get insight and validate faster. So ordinarily, we'd be waiting for focus groups and research and a lot of layers to wait for input. So I think what we have at our disposal at any given moment is instant validation, whether it be artificial intelligence research groups that are actually modeled after physicians or consumers, whether it's audience insight that we've got at our disposal, whether it's message feasibility and plausibility and credibility. So we're able to validate as we go versus wait. And then secondly, I think when it comes to idea validation itself, it allows us to see and pressure test if the ideas work across media, across channel, across disciplines. And so what we've done beautifully is work collectively as a team through our ideas together, and everybody's got their own lens. Everybody uses AI differently here, but all of it is contributing to build into these ideas together to make sure they're right for our customers before they even go to market. So I think it's really able to scale us faster.
I think just to build on the message piece, right? If you think about it in pharma marketing, messaging and key message delivery has been so complex based on what we're allowed and not allowed to say from a claims perspective. And we've built an AI platform called Open Letters, where we've ingested over 7 years of the last FDA warning letters that have gone out to various pharmaceutical companies, including the most recent letters. Then what we do is we upload on an individual client basis their key core claims, right? And then our teams, our copy teams and medical writing teams can go in and test new messaging concepts and new messaging frameworks and find out, is that going to be compliant? What that does is a lot of things. Number one, we get it right the first or second time. So a lot of times now when we're going into clinical review with a medical legal review team, minor comments, or it's pretty much spot on because we're taking historical information, we're using AI in a way that kind of makes us more efficient and more effective. And again, then we're focused on the creative execution and the art and the design and what that looks like. So I think that nice blend of art and copy, art and science, humanity and technology are really helping us, and I think our creative teams, be super strong and differentiated in the market.
Matt, you've talked about throwing out the old marketing playbook. So tell me, what does this new playbook look like, and what are some of those shifts happening that's making it possible?
I think in the last 2 weeks, I've gone away from even that we need a new playbook. I think we're playing a completely new game, right, when you look at it now. And I think historically, we've really looked at brands as things that are advertised, right? And I think when you look at now, specifically in the pharmaceutical industry, we've been talking about this notion in this new game as brands as platforms for engagement, right? I talk a lot about the pharmaceutical pipeline. A lot of the drugs now are for chronic conditions. People are going to be on these products and therapies for months, if not years, right? So being a brand as a platform for engagement, you need to connect all the things that historically have been disconnected, right? From a media channel perspective, all the touch points, how does that get orchestrated? How does DTC and HCP become more intertwined versus kind of separate, how it's historically been? And also the reimagine of all things from a patient services perspective. And pharma clients ask me often, well, who do we look for that, right? And we talk about other Publicis Group clients like Marriott, like Disney, and often they're like, well, I'm not Disney. And I have this favorite image that I love of Walt Disney from 1957. And he built what was called his synergy map, right? What I would call one of the first brands as a platform for engagement. And he looked at theme parks, right? He looked at kind of all things cartoon and radio. He looked at retail and merchandise. And he imagined no matter what I drop into this ecosystem, how does it connect to everything else? So now fast forward to 2025, we're working with clients to identify what's your synergy map, and start there versus starting with a campaign or an idea and really kind of focus that shift of thinking from a marketing perspective.
So Allison, building off of what Matt was saying about how everything is intertwined, what are you seeing in terms of reimagining creativity, what engagement looks like, and taking that from those traditional unbranded sites and DTC ads to delivering those more connected, personalized experiences?
At Digitas Health, we truly believe a great idea can make a lasting connection. And with all of what we have access to, we look at every moment as an opportunity. And with all of the insight that we have, we're able to track people along their health journey, their very personal health journey, and identify the right way to connect with them using all of the tools we've got. Those connections are starting to change where and when and how they show up. I see so much more human to human live interactions. I see brand acts versus brand advertising. And we see more and more of our health clients elevating to become above brand conversations and to really engage with their customers in different ways, and it's so exciting. I think the experience somebody has on their therapy and their medication, it might be the most important relationship they have with the brand, since it determines the outcome of their health. So we do see more and more attention and care to every single one of those interactions and experiences. And creativity can be applied there as well. I think it starts with a great idea that will keep going and going and affect change in every moment of their lives.
Matt, in talking about brands as platforms, we know that brands can no longer stand alone with those just singular campaigns. Mm-hmm. So how are you seeing and envisioning what a brand is going to look like now when it becomes a true platform? So we're serving patients, caregivers, HCPs, and payers simultaneously.
I think what's interesting, if you think about the role that payer is playing, right? I think historically there's been certain therapeutic classes or types of assets that almost have been immune to payer strategies. And now with everything that's happening in the political and economic climate, no brand is immune to that. So we are looking at the reimagination of all things payer and how does that fit into a brand as platform idea. And we've created a product through one of our agencies called Payer Sciences called N1 Connect. And the easiest way to think about it is non-personal promotion that we used to do for healthcare professionals in an omni-channel way. We're now doing that for payers. Back to our data story, which we're so proud of, over 200,000 population health decision makers in our payer database. We match that to our Epsilon database to understand them as consumers and where are they engaging with healthcare information and content outside of their day-to-day practice, and then serving them up with messaging and dynamics about how do they engage in different conversations with our brands. So we really look at this brand as connected kind of platform idea to pull in every single audience. I think historically it has been a lot HCP and DTC, but now, like I said, we are infusing that payer communication into that as well.
And what are some of those challenges that you are seeing in trying to integrate that with the payers?
I would even take it out a step, right? I think we are still very siloed a lot of times at a client level, right? If you think about a typical pharmaceutical organization, there is still a DTC team, an HCP team, a payer team. There's a center of excellence for media. There's a center of excellence for AI. So all of our stakeholders are craving a more connected ecosystem. We're still very disparate. So we are creating kind of ways of working, a lot of times not the most sexy thing, right? Process and fundamentals and operating models that disconnect those things on our client side to get those things reconnected so we can start to build those platform ideas and align those different audiences together and all those different content strategies together as well.
And so, Allison, in light of the changes in the industry and sort of the uncertainty that we're seeing, the brands are needing to connect differently. So how are you seeing this new era of patient communication and connection happening in terms of bringing more personalization to them?
I see a lot of opportunity, and look, all of the guidance is in an effort to make sure patients get the most access to information and care. So firstly, we'll look at point of care, and we're gonna really over-index on what happens in the healthcare physician's office, what the dialogue looks like. Using Verilogue, we've got access to so many conversations to give us more insight, more human insight about what's truly happening there and how we can affect change there. And secondly, I would say continuing to tap into the creator economy. I think that it's been a trend for a while now, and it's only growing, and we see big brands and consumer making strides in how they're elevating the role of their own consumers to contribute to brand content. I think health will be learning that as well, and rising to meet that expectation of brands. I think we are far away from a one-way conversation. So the more we can embrace communities, engage communities to help us control and create together, the more successful our brand and our brand content will be.
Can you talk a little bit more about Verilogue? It's a really interesting tool, so I'd like to have you explain a little bit more about it.
It's super interesting, right? In a totally opt-in way, what we're able to do is record clinical conversations during the point of care between patients and HCPs. And I think often typically when you go to a focus group, even if you're behind, a one-way mirror, people are still telling you what they think you want to hear, right? I don't know how many times we've been to ad boards educating clinicians about a therapeutic product, and they can recite exactly what they were told to say. It's a very different conversation in the clinical setting, right? How a patient, the language that she's using to describe her diabetes, her breast cancer, her child with ADHD or early onset diabetes is very different. So we kind of take all those conversations, right, to one, understand the relationship in the clinical setting, but more importantly, we're infusing that into message delivery, creative concept, and how we are actually going to market with our different products. So it's a jewel in our crown, so to speak, something that's very different and very unique to us, and I think extremely instrumental to our creative work, our content development work, and even some of our media work.
It's just inspiring. I think that it's an eye-opener to see how disconnected the clinicians can be from the reality the patients experience, and even the lexicon differences that are presented on both sides. And at DH, we love a brand where we can affect change on both sides, because you can actually bridge the gap, both in lexicon, in strategy, and in how they come together. So for me personally, using Verilogue as a tool that gives you such quantitative oversight and purview of the conversations, but from a qualitative perspective, has driven a lot of our strategies and has informed a lot of the creative ideation that we've done.
I mean, our strategy team often gives one of the examples is we're doing a lot of work right now in the obesity space. And we can also trend the conversations over time to look at when a new class of drugs enters the marketplace, how is that shifting the dialogue between an HCP and a patient? And if you look at 4 years ago, even 3.5 years ago, someone would go in and talk about obesity or being overweight, and a lot of the conversation was around diet, right? What is your diet? Stop eating ice cream, stop late night snacking. Like, there wasn't this awareness that obesity is a disease and a clinical problem. Fast forward, it's completely become a medical conversation in the doctor setting. So I think that's just one interesting nugget if you look at one therapeutic category, and how that is now impacting how we're going to market with products in that sector is pretty unique and pretty nuanced.